Welcome to Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where romance-loving pals recap smooching books and movies while giggling and sometimes falling in love with cartoon characters. Listen, it happens. Tonight is the night. We are having our Patreon-only book club with Sarah McLean. At 8 p.m., we're hanging out and chatting about Heartbreaker and really anything else patrons desire. And Naima Simone and I are back recapping episodes 3 and 4 of Prime's new show, The One That Got Away. We're on a mission to make Naima best friends with Anthony because it's fate, I think, and we're possibly making headway. But today, we have another famous celebrity here. Sally Thorne joined Sarah and I to recap Howl's Moving Castle. Once again, she comes in with an unexpected treasure, both the movie and her new book. So, Angelica Frankenstein Makes Her Match comes out on September 6th, and you can pre-order it now through The Ripped Bodice. I'll definitely put the link in the show notes, because when you pre-order through them, you get a signed book plate, postcard, and bookmark. Plus, you're grandfathered in for Sally's launch event with Christina Lauren. It's a virtual spooky slumber party, so don't delay. Okay, here's the recap.
The koala mafia.
I love it.
They will break your kneecaps.
It's true.
They will.
It's true. Sally, I'm so glad you're back. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I always have so much fun talking nonsense with you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I'm thrilled to be joining you. I am going to try to be chill. But Sally, I finished The Hating Game. I read the last word of the last chapter and I flipped to the front and I read it straight through again immediately. I've never done that before or since. I love you. I love that book. Okay, I'm done. We can be normal people now. We can just be talking about Howl. But I just had to tell you, it was brilliant and perfect, and I loved it.
That is an extremely high compliment for me. A reread. It's like feeling like I've just been handed a gold medal at the book Olympics. So thank you.
I've pinned it on your lapel. It's yes, please.
Yeah, and a 99% mine just got me through a bit of a rough time. So thanks for that, man. I appreciate it.
You guys, thank you so much.
The reread of 99% mine.
My little yellow baby.
Yeah, seriously. Well, and you've got a new baby that you're about to bring into the world.
I do.
And I've heard she's feisty.
She's an old baby, really, because this is a historical.
You're right. She has an old soul.
She's very old. She's old. She's creepy. It's cobbled together. It's sewn together in the dead of night. But
precise, delicate stitches.
Absolutely how I like to roll.
That's the only way you can do it.
Yes. The book is called Angelica Frankenstein Makes Her Match. She does. She literally makes her match from scratch, from the morgue, from parts, because why not?
I love it. Oh my God, I love it so much.
This was my weird COVID book where I was in lockdown and I was like, what am I going to write about? And then I kind of turned around in my chair and you guys can see behind me here is my doll. This is my dollhouse.
Yes.
This is Blackthorn Manor, and you've got to take inspiration where you can find it. So the book is set in my dollhouse. It's a full-sized real house in the book, but yeah, I'm just so glad to have woven in one of my obsessions in with my book, and I hope everyone likes it. It's very different to The Hating Game, but I mean, came out of the same brain, so yeah, here's hoping everyone likes it too.
What I love is it's so different from what people would expect from you, but the snap is there and the sparkle, that Sally sparkle is in the dialogue and it's in the characterization, and it is you couldn't plop them down into a Hating Game setting, obviously, but it's a you book. It's very much there. So I think even people who don't do supernatural or historical or gothic or anything, if they like your work, they're gonna like this book.
Yeah,
because it's still you shine through. So,
well, thank you. That's all I'm hoping, that you can hear, as we're talking in the podcast, you can hear what I sound like. I sound the same in my books. Hopefully, if you ever meet me, you're fairly confident that I did write those books. So yeah, you just have to hope that your voice can kind of carry through in whatever you write. And I'm just relieved that the publisher, they took it and they went, oh, okay then. All right. Let's do this weird book.
I love it.
How did you approach them with it? Did you have to hem and haw and say, okay, hear me out, have some tea, sit down.
Right.
Let me rub your feet. Or was it just a straight up, here's what I've got?
I think it was a here's what I got. The same way that I wrote The Hating Game, I wrote it all the way through. I didn't know if anyone wanted to read this. And I just said, look, I've finished this manuscript. I really don't know if it's anything that you guys would want to publish, but I wrote it, and as I just really hoped that it was so good they couldn't say no. And I think
it was.
Well, I hope so.
And
and I think maybe a lot of people wrote a unexpected book during COVID lockdown. So I think we've got a lot of really creative, interesting books coming up in our future.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a contemporary romance author, and I wrote an alien book. Yeah, we went places. We did not want to be where we were, and so you went to the future, or I went to the future. You went to the past.
Yeah. I mean, that's what is so great about reading, and it's also what's so great about being an author and writing, that you can just really just pick a spot. You can pick a spot on the map and in the big wheel of time, and you can just, I wrote fan fiction. That's what this book is. It's Frankenstein fan fiction, taking me back to my roots from back in my Twilight fan fiction days. I love imagining imaginary characters that were there all along. Like, why didn't he have a sister that was helping him with his reanimation experiments? And of course she's lonely, and of course it just gradually seems to be a good idea to make a date.
And of course her intelligence and her drive would be off-putting to the men in the village. Of course she'd be overlooked and a spinster at 24. So
absolutely,
it's great to give her another shot at that.
And I love that her quote unquote monster is sentient, like the original Frankenstein's monster. It makes me so happy. Because in so many, this isn't an adaptation, but in so many adaptations, they end up being like, "Murr." And he wasn't like that in Shelley's text.
Yeah, exactly. The original character is thoughtful and has a lot of observations on human nature. And my character, when he sits up and he's alive, so to speak, he's got a very high ethical standards and a strong moral compass. He just doesn't know, he has no memory. So I've always enjoyed amnesia books as a trope. And I really vastly underestimated how difficult they are to write, especially when none of the other characters know who they are either.
Oh,
it's like difficulty level 11 for me. So they all have to work out who he is, and he's even sometimes fighting with his own body, because his body likes Angelica very, very much. But he tries to stay focused in his mind, and he wants to know, has he left a family behind? Has he got orphaned kids that are struggling? And Angelica's reluctant. She was really hoping that she would just bring him a few breakfast in beds and they'd fall in love. But she goes and helps him.
That's how I like to do it too, so I don't blame her.
It was the ideal outcome, but that would have been a very short story. So
I just love how literal you made that. So often in romance, you've got I know this person isn't what I need or think I want, but my body wants him or her anyway. And this was a literal thing. My brain literally is saying no, but the rest of me says yes. And so I love the way you made that explicit and very much on the page.
Yes, it was challenging in so many different ways to write, and especially because I'm not an expert in that time period. I had to Google pretty much every single word in that book. I Googled, like, did candles exist? Dead windows exist. Dead buttons exist. Everything that was in the book, I Googled it. And I want you to know that every single Google created a 25-minute detour from working on this.
I can only imagine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then it was copy edited. Someone went through it 3 times, finding all of the mistakes and saying, you've said they look out of the window in the carriage, but windows weren't in carriages at this time. And I'm like, just me. I invent them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just hope that all of the Frankenstein experts who did their thesis in this book don't come for me. I hope that people that are experts in Salisbury, England in 1814 don't come for me. Just appreciate that I was stuck in a room. Let me have my fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some doctoral candidate out there in an English department is like, this is my time to shine. I have my red pen and I have this art. Let's go.
Yeah, please know that I will never read your email.
As long as they're quiet about it, I feel like they can have a great time and then just never say a word. That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Just enjoy things for what they are. Yeah. Just read it for what it is. And that is my plea to anyone reading. Just it is what it is.
Well, and so you take us on a brand new wild ride with Angelica. And then you emailed me and you were like, I'm going to take you on an extra wild ride with the movie this week. And Sally, I cannot tell you how thankful I am that I finally got to watch this movie, because I've seen Kiki's Delivery Service and Princess Mononoke, and like there's a couple that are like in the TBR.
Spirited Away. Yeah.
Spirited Away. Yep. But I haven't watched this one yet, and I think it might be my favorite.
It's so good. It's we're talking about Howl's Moving Castle.
That's the one.
And it's actually one of my favorite movies. I have a huge framed movie poster in my hallway, and Howl is one of my absolute book boyfriends, because this is based on a book by Diana Wynne Jones. I'm holding it up now because the book is the book that I wish that I could have written, and Howl is a ridiculous person, and he's so gorgeous.
Oh my God.
I just can't wait to talk about him. This is my time to shine.
Absolutely. And he's such an unexpected swoon, and Christian Bale reached right into my body and put tingles places that, I don't know that I should talk about.
I know the line that did that to you too.
Tell me.
That's my girl.
That's the one. Yes. Oh my God, Sally, I got chills, and my children were in the room because I let them watch the first half. Oh,
if Christian Bale's Batman had sounded like that, I don't know
what I would have done. Thank goodness he became a caricature.
So normally I'm a little bit of a snob that I like to listen to the original audio for movies that are foreign movies. So and ordinarily I would watch it in Japanese, but for some reason I just give this movie a pass, because I think that the voice acting in this English dub is just so beautiful. And Christian Bale he slithers his way into your ear.
Oh my gosh.
Slither out. It's just it's just too good.
Well, and Emily Mortimer, she has, I can't believe she hasn't done more voice acting, because her voice is just like the sweetest butter. I don't know. Oh man. Yeah. Okay. It's
beautiful.
Howl's Moving Castle, we should jump in because there's so much and we have to talk about every moment. Oh no.
Yes. Every moment.
Okay. So we meet Sophie, and she's a hat maker, and she's making hats, and like there are ladies out in the parlor, and they're like, oh, we're going to titter and then we're going to do fun things. But then they see off in the distance Howl's castle, and they're like, is he coming to town? I heard he ate a lady's heart. Oh, what are we going to do? I might swoon. And then they leave and she's like, cool. Just sitting here making hats because I'm Sophie and I'm the
it's
business.
Relatable, isn't it? Like, you're the one person in the office doing some work while everyone else like it's Friday afternoon clearly in that hat shop, I feel.
Oh yeah.
And even worse, she tries to look out her window even, and she can't see past the cloud and the industrial pollution. She can't even get a glimpse from where she's toiling away. Although I will say this movie did make me think I should get into hats more than I am, because her hats were not tacky at all, which is coming
How
shortly,
dare you?
How dare?
How dare everyone?
Yeah, she's doing the work.
She is. I'm also into hats. Hats are a big takeaway from this movie, where you think, you know what? Yeah, I should.
Yeah.
A hat with two cannons on it too. Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Definitely.
I mean, we're all bringing hats back this fall, and she works in her parents' hat shop. Her surname is literally Hatter. She's Sophie Hatter. So like, she's probably really glad that her parents, don't work down at like the abattoir or something like that.
Sophie Blood and Guts doesn't have the same ring. No,
it's true. It's
so true. So she closes up shop, doesn't she? And she decides she's going to go and visit her sister. So she has this travel through town. And what I love about this movie is I've probably honestly seen this movie maybe 15 times. It's my comfort movie, and I put it on in the background, and every single time I watch it, I see something new. And that is just such a hallmark of Miyazaki's like style, that it's just so intricately detailed, every single frame, and it's overwhelming, and it's on purpose. You're supposed to feel overwhelmed in this busy city, and something's going on in the background. We can understand that something's happening. There's lots of soldiers marching around, and Sophie goes and visits her beautiful sister. Wasn't she just gorgeous?
But
Lottie?
on the way she gets sort of almost accosted by two soldiers who are like, what are you doing over here? And then a man comes out of the mist, and he's got blonde hair, and he's wearing a jacket on his shoulders, but not his arms. And I didn't know I was attracted to that.
You're gonna learn a lot.
He pulls it off.
Yeah, he does. And so many things you're like, okay, then, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and he's got dangle earrings.
I guess I'm into big green earrings now.
I know. I didn't know that. I'm gonna have a really weird talk with Michael later. We'll see how it goes. You know what I mean?
Actually, if you go onto Etsy, you can buy. People make his earrings and his ring. Yes, let's all get them.
Gosh. Yes, please. Okay, so he comes in and he's like, I'm her escort for the whatever, and thank goodness I found you.
I've been looking for you everywhere.
And he has been. Yeah. You're correct, Howl. I don't think you know it right now, but you have been looking for her for forever. So they walk around and he's like, act totally natural. I'm being followed. And like, what? Like, I feel like I wasn't given the opportunity to really ponder just how super weird that would be if like somebody saves you, but then they're like, now I'm going to stick you immediately into another intrigue. Like, dude. And then oozing blob men start coming out of walls. And they're not only these oozing blob men, but they're also wearing like straw top hats.
They were the most dapper sea lion demon things I've ever seen. They were adorable. Every threatening monster should have a little straw hat. Looks like they're in a barbershop quartet. Perfect.
And honestly, most of the threatening monsters in this movie is wearing some sort of straw hat. It's incredible.
I mean, did Sophie make all these hats?
I feel like she had to have, right?
Are they from their outlet store down near the train station or something?
You know who it is? It's Janet, who's doing the knockoffs of the Hatter shop. And they've hit her with cease and desist, and she's still doing it. She'll sell to anybody.
Can't stop, won't stop, Janet. Oh boy.
So can you imagine walking arm in arm with Howl down an alleyway?
God.
I mean, if those who've read the book, one of the things that Diana Wynne-Jones really hammers home is that he smells incredible, and he douses himself with scent. And so he walks around in an absolute cloud of like hyacinth, and, you know, everywhere he goes, he basically leaves this perfume cloud behind him. And it's just, I always imagine that too when I'm watching. So please read the book. The book is just like, if you love this movie, the book is next level. It gives you so much more juice and so much more romantic moments. And anyhow.
Well, and I also
sit silently and read.
Okay, we're going to be quiet for the next 5 hours. Start with chapter 1, and we'll just.
Sally needs to read.
That's right. What I enjoyed, and I know Sally, you'll appreciate this as you know, your fanfic roots here, but it's very much Edward Cullen screeching up in the car and saying, "Get in!" Right? It's that same kind of rescue her from that situation. What a great way to endear a hero to the audience, to the heroine. It's the same kind of alone in an alley with creepy dudes. I guess in Twilight you didn't have dapper hat demons, but
you know, did Kellen Lutz ever wear some hats? I feel like he might have worn like a little hat with his white jeans sort of combo.
Definitely during Vampire Baseball, everybody had hats.
Oh gosh, yeah, on those wigs. No, but you know what Edward Cullen didn't do? He did not start walking into the air with Bella, because he's not
a wizard.
Yeah, he just starts walking, and he's like, just look normal, like just walk
straighten your legs, walk, just walk in the air.
And it's the first of many times that Sophie is completely chill. These things are happening to her, and she is just rolling with it. What a champ.
That's what I like about her. She's just like, something happens and she just looks at it and she's like, okay then, and then
this is my reality now.
Gets on with it. Yeah, she's very stoic character. So even when she's hand in hand walking through the air with a gorgeous blonde wizard, she's already come to terms with it and is doing it very well. She's a very competent person. I think she's just a great character.
Yeah, most definitely. And she's so competent that he does murmur into her ear, "You're a natural." And I also had pants feelings about that. Just to be totally transparent.
I mean, you'd have to be dead and buried not to.
Thank you.
I challenge anyone to not have sort of interesting feelings throughout this entire movie. It's confusing to be attracted to like an animated character, but
sure.
Just like Sophie, you've just got to go with it. You know, straighten your legs and just walk it out.
I carried on and I prevailed, you know.
I'm the Disney Robin Hood Fox generation, so I've wrestled with that. I understand you two apparently are as well. We embraced it early. Yeah.
So then he lands her on a balcony and he says, "That's my girl." And I nearly died.
I knew it. I knew you would.
Oh my God.
This is why I picked this movie, just pretty much for that moment. How many times around the world have people rewound that bit like 20 to 30 times? It's honestly, it's one of the greatest moments in cinema. And voice acting.
And voice acting, absolutely. And animation, probs. I'll give it to him.
That's my girl. He's just like, he's so proud. He's so admiring. And you know he's going to be back. That's the thing. He's like, it has a very see you soon as he flies backwards with his amazing coat flapping in the breeze. And then he's gone and she's left to stand there thinking, what just happened? I met this scary Howl that all the girls in my hat shop were saying eats hearts, but he didn't eat her heart. So she assumes that he only eats really pretty girls' hearts, which is sad. Yes. You know. Yeah. It's really sad. I mean, like, this is a real journey of self-esteem and self-confidence, this movie. And you know, I think that she's already gorgeous, but we'll get there.
Absolutely.
Hey HBs, I started an Etsy store. Did you know? Right now, it's full of all the St. Vincent items you need, because St. Vincent is thoughtful and cozy all year round. We've got a book sleeve to keep your books, planners, e-readers, or really anything else safe when you're on the go. The inside is fuzzy, and they feel so incredibly lush in your hands. I went round and round with the manufacturers to make sure I had just the right thickness. Those feature art of St. Vincent and Evie during their carriage adventure that was painted by the amazing Mayara Faraz on one side, and then I created a St. Vincent Would Always wreath on the other side that has a bunch of little Easter egg items in it. There's a St. Vincent Would Always warm brick enamel pin. It's like, if you know, you know. I designed a special edition Marriage of Convenience candle that is specific to Devil in Winter, with the help of HB Jen at Post Pouring Company. It combines dark amber for St. Vincent and rosewood for Evie, and it smells so delicious. It's hard to even wrap my brain around. So if you want to treat yourself or be the St. Vincent you want to see in the world by getting a care package for a friend, check out our Etsy store. The link is in the show notes.
So she goes and she sees her very traditionally pretty sister. And that's, I'm sure, where she gets so many of her hangups, because let's review, her mom also sucks.
Yeah.
Her mom's really hot though.
Her mom, yeah.
It's a beautiful family, and she's sort of the mousy little one. That's how she views herself.
Yeah. And she says,
that family is not afraid of a bold eyeliner. They just really, yeah.
Oh, indeed. You're right. Yeah. And then after that, she goes back to her house. It's nighttime now. And we've been hearing about this witch of the waste, and how the witches and the wizards are dangerous, and it's scary town. And she walks into her hat shop / home, and this woman opens the door and follows her in. She's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're closed." And then what does the witch say? That's rude
she calls her
AF.
tacky. She calls her tacky. The
That's
hats
the
and her and the shop, and it's terrible.
Yeah, it's
Terrible.
very rude. Yeah.
Yes.
And Sophie says,
she's
"You have to leave now. Please, here's the door. Goodbye."
And it's a fist pump moment, because this intruder looks incredibly wealthy. She could probably buy every hat in there, but she was rude, and I like seeing Sophie stand up for herself like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but as she goes by, there's a gust of wind, and then all you see is the frame of the Witch of the Waste turn around and say, "The best part about that curse is that you can't tell anyone." And then she leaves, door closed. And then
she says something like "regards to Howl," doesn't
that's
she?
the one. Yeah.
So we get the feeling that she has observed Sophie and Howl doing their little skywalking tiptoe hand in hand. And this is now retaliation. So I think we're now at the point where Sophie looks in the mirror and realizes that she's an elderly lady. And there's a few moments of shock, but then in typical Sophie fashion, she really gets around it. She thinks, well, I already felt old.
It's true.
So my outsides match my insides.
My other favorite part, because I have changed since becoming a mother. And one of those things is when somebody says, "My tummy hurts," the first thing I say is, "Well, do you have to poop?" And then if somebody is really if something goes wrong, I'm just like, you know what? You should probably sleep on it and it'll look better when you wake up. And that's exactly what Sophie does. She's just like, you know what? I just got to go to bed is what I have to do. And maybe this will be gone by the time I wake up.
Alas, no.
No.
She wakes up and someone from her family knocks on her door, and she pretends she has a cold, and then she looks in the mirror and she's still old. And but she just within 20 seconds of waking up, she's like, "Oh well. This is life now." Yeah.
Rolling with it. I would never, if I was 90 overnight, I would never leave bed. Bed is where I live now. But Sophie's just like, well, gonna fix this. Yeah.
I would have been honest with my whole family. I would have just been like, "Cursed by witch," and they would have gone, "Well, sure, yeah. I mean, we know there's heaps of witches out there, so we understand." But she decides, kind of like in a sort of way that she thinks, well, I guess I better go and sort this out. So she puts on a little shawl and she puts a block of cheese and a loaf of bread in one of those little pouches, that you put over your shoulder. And she heads off up the hill, I guess, to find Howl. I guess she's been left with that clue, my regards to Howl. So I suppose it's logical you would try to find the only wizard you've ever met.
Right. Well, and
handed you onto a balcony.
The wastes are where the witches and wizards live. So like if she doesn't stumble upon Howl, she might meet somebody else who can fix her. One. Yeah, who knows? Yeah. But instead, she does see a walking stick sticking out of a bush, and she heaves and hoes on that walking stick until finally a scarecrow pops out. And then she stands it up and she's like, well, that didn't go how I wanted it to. But then the scarecrow like animates itself. It's animated now. And it's popping along behind her. It's like, it like jumps on its pole. Oh my God.
And I love that she gives it a piece of her mind and says, you've got a turnip for a head. That is not my favorite vegetable, but I'll allow this.
I think she wouldn't have said that when she was younger too. I think she's already feeling that old lady fantasy where you just say whatever you want to, and you don't try to filter yourself anymore. Old looks really good on her, in a lot of ways.
Old is so freeing for her, and it's so I feel like I'm jumping ahead. It's so interesting to contrast that witch with the Witch of the Waste. The way her aging and her elderly presentation is so different than Sophie's, the way it frees Sophie and it just sort of traps the witch. But we're not there yet. But no, I love that juxtaposition of the two different kinds of ways to be old, ways to be a crone,
Yeah, absolutely. But then the scarecrow starts doing sweet things like bringing her a cane. And she's like, oh, wow. Okay. Could you run along and maybe find me somewhere to sleep? And it goes hopping away. And she's like, I'm so clever in my old age. And she keeps trucking up that hill. But like a while later, there's gusts of wind. It's cold. It's, she's miserable. And the scarecrow comes up with the moving castle. It leads the castle to Sophie. And then she manages to get in. And suddenly she's in the bowels of Howl's moving castle.
It's so cool. And the movie really gets us there pretty quickly. I mean, we've taken a while to set it all up, but she's old and she's in that castle really before you've been able to take the first sip of your hot drink. It's very quick. And it's what a total dump it is inside. I don't know what you guys are expecting, but it's very messy.
We haven't said enough about the outside of the castle, though. The way the Studio Ghibli made this personified and friendly and weird and magical and lovely. How do you make this mess of a castle so welcoming, but also give it 4 chicken feet? How does it all work together? It does.
And like steampunk a little bit.
Oh yeah, very much so.
It's got some steampunk going on.
I don't know. It smiled at me several times, and I wanted to hug it and be in it. And
it had that floppy metal tongue in the front. That's so cute. Oh my God.
Just from an animation point of view, the fact that it gleams like iridescent rainbow on the metal, it's like the whole movie is the most incredible piece of art. And again, you could watch this 10 times and you could see something new every time on that castle. But I think when Diana Wynne Jones came up with the idea for this book, she said that she'd met a small child at a book signing and asked him, if you could read a book about anything, what would it be? And he said, a castle that can move. And that was her inspiration for this. So shout out to that little boy there somewhere, it's gorgeous. And I love the interpretation in the movie as well. Like the book, you can sort of imagine it a little bit more, but this is all Miyazaki's, incredible mind.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. So then she meets a flame. He's trying to convince her that he's a big, scary fire demon. Oh, she has a plushie.
I've got a little Calcifer plushie, of course, just casually here on my desk. Yes, he's a flame, a fire demon. He's in the fireplace, and he wants to make a deal.
Billy Crystal, and he's perfect.
Oh my God. And like here, I was sitting in my chair and I don't know what this, I mean, everybody knows that I don't know names, but I was thinking, is that Patton Oswalt? No, it's the Patton Oswalt of the 90s. And I couldn't figure out who that was. And then I realized it was Billy Crystal.
Yeah.
So that was my journey that I went on. Anyway.
Yes. You got there.
So he's like, if you break my curse, then I'll figure out a way to break your curse because like I'm connected to Howl and I'm trapped here and I just want my freedom, right? Basically.
Yeah. And I think he also can't talk about the specific terms of his curse. So really they're two birds of a feather and it makes sense. Let's work together. So Sophie says, sure, why not? I'll help you, little man in the fireplace. No worries. But first, this place is a bit of a mess.
Oh my God. It's a mess.
So I think she falls asleep first before she sits down by the fire and she thinks to herself, I'll tidy up in the morning. Who wakes her up in the morning?
Little Markle. I love Markle. Where does Markle come from? What is a Markle? What's his story? Is he okay? Where are his parents?
There are questions there. And seriously, I mean, this whole movie is about people that don't want to grow up or are stuck in the incorrect age for their body. And they've all been forced to live under one roof. And so Markle spends a lot of his time, he must be only 8 years old, but he spends most of his time pretending to be an old guy and working for Howl and selling his spells. So we don't get much backstory at all about him, but
no, but he's pint-sized and he's there to practice his magic and he's shockingly responsible. Love him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's great.
Also rolls with the punches, does Markle.
Yeah. Like you come home, there's an old lady there.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to do laundry now? Okay, let's do it. I love that when Sophie got out of bed, every vertebrae in her spine cracked. And I felt that. Deep in my body as she did that.
This movie is so relatable. Like so much of it is based, like it's a really fantastical setting and they're in a moving castle that has chicken legs, but really it's a film about like domestic pleasures as well and about creating your own family and about having a community and being needed by other people.
Facing your responsibilities, so much of Howl's conflict avoidance drives a lot of this middle section. So growing up or being the age that you are, there's a lot of that community and coming together and it's not one person who changes, it's all of them and they all change for the better by the end. Again, jumping ahead.
Yeah, because I also think it's about like the lengths you go to in order to like, not face whatever it is, responsibilities or the future or whatever. Because I mean, the castle's like basically a manifestation of, his avoidance. He's just like, no, we go places, we run away, we're fine.
Yeah.
So
very well put.
Speaking of Howl, he comes in and she's cooking breakfast, which is apparently impossible because Calcifer only listens to Howl, period, the end. So Howl comes in and he's like, oh, hello, who are you? You're making Calcifer listen. This is incredible. And she's like, ha, you're the hottest man that I've ever seen. You're that hot man that made me fly. I'm your new cleaning lady, is what she manages to say.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if her heart flutters in her chest or whether she feels more elderly, like, that you can still appreciate a beautiful young man. But
I haven't thought about this in a future scene, and let's circle back to how she feels about him coming up. But I love that this is the scene that gives us, ladies, he cooks. Because he's just like, move over. I'm gonna put the bacon in this pan. And
I know, and his hand kind of covers her hand when he takes the frying pan handle, and he's wearing this fabulous, like, sort of little ruby ring on his hand. He doesn't shy. He also wears this beautiful sapphire pendant around his neck. And I didn't know that I was into like blonde men with like the flat bangs and the shoulder length hair. It's a terrible haircut, but
revelations
a sort of Bowie kind of vibe where it's like it works on this one particular person.
And he has the kind of white puffy shirt at certain times that Goblin King Jareth Labyrinth
totally.
Bowie look. No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
This is explaining some things about my reaction that I wasn't consciously aware of.
Right. It was just like
But
a little seed
my heart
that was
knew.
planted.
My pants knew.
So they sit down at breakfast and he looks at her and he says, "So, Sophie, what are you hiding in your pocket?" And she's like, "My pockets is." So she like digs around and she pulls out this note, this red piece of paper. And she's like, obviously confused, and hands it to him. And he grabs it and drops it, and it immediately lights on fire and burns a rune into the table.
Mm-hmm.
And the Markle is like, "Hey, can you read that, boss?" And he's like, "Actually, I can." What was the spell for, Sally? I can't remember.
I think it was a message from the Witch of the Waste. She'd put it in Sophie's pocket. And I don't know if at that point he reveals what it says, but we're getting more and more of a sense that something's happening in the bigger world outside. Then, it's not all just walking around up in the hills. There's, some sort of war brewing down. And we find out pretty soon that Howl has actually he's required to go and report to the palace and become a wizard soldier for their side. But that's the main thing that he's avoiding throughout the movie, is he wants to avoid reporting for duty.
Yeah, especially to his former
mentor,
boss,
teacher,
mentor.
trainer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I sidebar? I don't know if I go down a research rabbit hole with anything that's new to me like this. Because I'm also a college professor and that's what I do. But Miyazaki added a lot of this war content because of the Iraq War, because this movie comes out in 2003, 2004.
Yeah.
So we've had 9/11, we've had, going to war in Iraq. And so some of the referent material that I saw said the war content, and Sally, I'm going to throw this to you because I've not read the book. It's not as strong in the novels. And so the war part was bumped up in the film, in part because he kind of wanted to talk about war and how we fight and why we fight and the futility and how we can make things better.
And
but I thought it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, totally made up unnecessary war. That's pretty on the nose.
Maybe that's apocryphal. Maybe that is information that I, picked up from sources that were not totally accurate. But that is what I read, that was the Iraq War that kind of drove the creator of the film to say, let's add this a little more prominently than in the book.
I don't know about the specific war, but I know that Miyazaki is really passionately anti-war, and the movie is a anti-war piece, showing us the futility of it and showing the destruction. You mentioned earlier the, plumes of smoke that were coming across Sophie's window. There's a lot of sort of environmental commentary in this movie as well. It's, you can watch it just for the story, and you can also find additional meanings and layers in it, just the same way that every frame is so layered and visual. And I think for sure, Howl's a pacifist essentially, isn't he? And a coward as well. That's
sure.
That's his cross to bear. He's a coward as well.
Yeah, two things can be true.
Not also. I don't know, going undercover as a bird, and he's a coward, but he does what he can in his own way. Again, jumping ahead. Yeah. But he fights in the way that he knows how, or the way that he is palatable to him.
Yeah, well, he begins off by thinking that he has to do everything alone, and he's kind of tries to be, everything to everyone. I mean, literally, he has a door in his castle that can open to 4 different places, and he has a different name in each place that he goes. So he is literally all people to everyone. And he's trying to sabotage the war effort. He's trying to get those baddies in the little hats, but all by himself. And I think we find out throughout the movie, you don't have to be all by yourself.
And I love that not only is he avoiding his responsibilities to the palace, but all of his different personalities have been called to the palace, right? He's Pendragon here, and he's the wizard such and such there. And they all are being called to report to duty and so he has to shirk this responsibility on behalf of his many personalities.
Yeah,
that's
he's
cool.
really hemmed in. Is that the phrase I'm looking for? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Hemmed in, maybe.
In the book, I think one of the major differences in the book is that he's an absolute womanizer in the book. He is addicted to love, and he sets about his whole hobby is finding the most beautiful girl in a village and making her fall in love with him. And he can't rest until she falls in love with him, and then he doesn't want her anymore and he leaves. So he does have all these aliases. There's one bit in the book, where they notice that his guitar is gone from the corner of the room, and you're like, of course he's the kind of guy that would take a guitar to like impress a girl. Like
he's the open mic night guy.
He's the guitar guy at the party.
He's strumming Wonderwall, but somehow it works because all these girls in the village, it's either that or the village guys. That we've already seen that a lot of guys really suck in this movie. Like,
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So he is made a little bit more perfect in the movie, but still works.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So then she decides that she's going to clean everything. And this is quite the task, because even like the fireplace has at least a foot of ash in it. Like everything is just a disaster. And then she like goes over and she sweet talks Calcifer, the little fire demon. And she's like, I love your spark. I've never seen a demon with a better, brighter spark. And it's so cute. In case you haven't seen the movie yet, listener, Calcifer is a little flame blob, but then he does have two arms that he uses to like grab onto the wood and hang onto the wood. And I've never seen anything more charming. I don't understand how it's so cute.
I know, he's adorable.
And Sophie acknowledges the work that he does, right? She acknowledges his labor in a way that I don't think Howl thinks to do. And that helps. I think it's part of the reason that the castle comes together the way that it does by the end, because she says, your domestic efforts here are not in vain. I see this and I acknowledge it.
Your invisible work. I see your invisible work that's taken for granted. Oh, that really...
I mean, it took a woman to come and do that. The other two are like, have a log.
Yeah.
Yes.
Heat my water, Calcifer.
Yeah. So I think Calcifer's almost falling for Sophie herself. She's very charming in a way that she's very understated, very similar to Hal in some ways, that he uses his charms to influence and get what he wants. She does the same, but it still feels very genuine.
Yeah. Yeah. So Calcifer takes them to like a lake area and they do laundry, and it's like there are vistas in front of them and it's beautiful. On the way out, because Howl decides to go and fly into his black abyss. One of the destinations on his portal door is a black abyss that nobody knows about except for him. And he's like, don't let her go too crazy with the cleaning. And then he leaves, and in that area, he flies through the super war-torn areas where he can see all of the bombings and, everything going on, as well as a bunch of wizards who have transformed themselves into little blob bats with shark teeth and straw hats. And they...
Nobody is getting skin cancer. Everybody is very well protected.
It's very smart. And
I love it.
Yeah. And so while he's gone, she does go into his bathroom, and it's like a different type of disaster, because everything else was like covered in goo and dust and stuff. And his area is just sort of covered in rainbow powder.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I mean, could you still be attracted to a man? There's a shot where she's looking at his toilet with the seat up, and you just know that it is just horrific. You know that toilet is the worst toilet in the history of toilets.
That's how you know their love is real, because she stayed.
I know. I mean, in the book, like, it does just, it goes into a lot of his beauty routines. He's incredibly vain because he has kind of been raised to believe that his his beauty and his youth is quite central to his magic. And so I think that if you've read the book, it kind of informs the scene which comes next. So anyway, she cleans up the bathroom, and it wasn't a good idea.
It wasn't. When he comes back, Calcifer's like, you have to be careful transforming into that raven creature, because the more you do it, the less you're going to be human, and someday you're going to be stuck that way. He literally says, get that look off your face, or it's going to stick that way. And then he goes up to the bathroom, and it's all clean. And at first he's like, everything's cool. He like goes to, we don't see any of this, but he doesn't make a fuss until he like uses his potions or whatever's in there. And
then, my God, the fuss.
Oh, I don't know that
we
fuss
love it.
Covers it.
We love a dramatic blonde wizard prince. He has an emo meltdown, essentially,
Yes.
because he comes downstairs and he's dyed his hair ginger. He's screaming that he's hideous. Meanwhile, Markle is a ginger and is standing to one side, probably feeling terrible about himself.
Honestly. Howl, you're beautiful.
Cal
look at
says,
those auburn locks.
I'm hideous, is what he says.
Does. And the only thing that's different about him, listener, is that his hair is no longer blonde. And then
we cannot emphasize enough that he's only in a towel, and it is a very low hanging towel.
There's butt
I
crack.
think my notes at this point are, don't look at me, don't talk to me. Ginger Howl is in a towel, because that's all he's doing.
Howl in a towel. Oh, yeah. That sounds like some sort of great merch item.
It's Elf on a Shelf, but for adults.
Oh,
yes.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a rangy, skinny little thing, but he's got some muscle definition, and so he's proceeding to. He's gone from anger. He's going through the stages of grief.
Yes.
He's now in despair, and he says, "I don't see the point in living if I can't be beautiful." Sophie's standing over him, thinking, "I've got far bigger problems than you, my friend."
Oh yeah, and then she literally says, I've never been beautiful a day in my life, and runs into the rain in order to sob and feel her feelings. And then Markle comes out and he's like, Sophie, somehow it's gotten worse. I didn't think it could, but I need you inside. And he has just melted into green goo, Sally?
Yeah, he does. The despair, he's calling he's calling some kind of very dark magic. The despair in him is so strong that he's melting into slime. There's no other way to put it. He's melting. And so they have to pick him up, slide him like a big slug all the way upstairs. At one point, the towel gets lost. So if he looks down and
this was my point with how does Sophie feel about him in her old body, his young beautiful body? She looks over her shoulder, and I can't tell if she's like, I have to deal with this bullshit, or if she's just like, oh God, his towel's gone. Just look forward. I feel like eyes up.
Oh,
I feel like it's open to audience interpretation.
Yeah, I felt
okay. No, that's kind of how I felt too.
Yeah, like that's how I interpreted it, and I had no questions about alternatives. Both of my kids, as soon as this scene happened and it went from her face to them walking more, both of my kids yelled, his booty's out, which was a, it was
tiny little wizard booty.
They were just telling the truth.
I know. And it was a nice cartoon booty. There, I said
you weren't imagining green slime nudity in this, were you?
I wasn't. You're always full of surprises, Sally.
I all full credit goes to the movie. I just know what I like. And
I love that at least 40% of this movie, if you just stopped on any individual still, it would make no sense without context. At some point, there's the turnip head scarecrow at the very end on the raft with the two chicken legs and almost dead wizard and the old they would make zero sense if you didn't know what it was from. The green melty wizard on a I love it. It's so nonsensical in so many ways, but it's so beautiful and it all hangs together as you're watching it. It's brilliant.
And it's so relatable. Like, I think everyone can relate to having something that is not a big deal. I mean, he is a wizard. He could tint his hair back, but he's already had a hard day. And I think we've all melted into green slime at some point. I'd probably do every week, just about. So it's relatable, and it's also deeply annoying. That's how Howl is. He's just such a great complex character because he's so vain and he's so over the top and dramatic and ridiculous. And, you know, he's not acting his age. He is stuck permanently as a child, adolescent, sort of, you know, teenage boy in his mind. And these are moments where we can see that he really needs to grow up. I mean, we see what his bedroom looks like. That's a bit later on. And
he has a Lisa Frank bedroom of my dreams.
I was going to say maximalist goals.
Oh, maximalist goals is right.
Yes.
Oh my God.
It's incredible.
So she tucks him in and she's like, would you like some more milk? And he's like, no, don't look at me. I still have raven hair and I'm just, no. And then
his hair has turned darker by then. His hair has turned to a dark maroon sort of color. So it's a different look for him. We're used to him being a blonde.
Still works for him.
Yeah. I didn't hate it.
I love a makeover in any movie, and this was an unexpected makeover scene for me.
So as she's leaving, he says, "Wait." Oh my God. And so she turns back around and she's like, did you reconsider the milk or something? And he's like, no, but I do have to tell you about my emo soul. And he's like, I'm a coward and I hate how afraid I am of everything. And he talks about how, you know, every single one of his aliases is expected at the palace and he just like cannot bring himself to go. And it's so interesting because I feel like we're seeing sort of the beginning of his growth arc, because he's like, he's just self-reflective enough to be like, I'm a piece of shit who doesn't deserve anything, because he's not mature enough yet to just like get down to business. Oh, it's so good. So then he's like, oh my God, you're a person who can fix it for me. Incredible. He gets so excited and he's like, you're going to go to the palace and you're going to say that you're my alias's mom. And you're going to be like, he's the worst. Here's a doctor's note. He can't come to the war. Is that okay? And like, surely the king will be fine with it.
Yeah. I mean, I think asking a parental figure to sort something out for you is also deeply relatable. Oh. I mean, you have to respect he's got boundaries. You know, he's like, no one should have to do anything they don't want to do. He really doesn't want to. So I know, maybe you could just go and have a talk to them and just explain, no, thank you. I don't want any part of this. And she agrees. Because at this point, I think that she'd probably say yes to anything that he asked her. He's that kind of boy.
Well, because
to be fair, who among us wouldn't? I mean,
no. And this is one of those moments where I love the movie for not walking away from like the weird complication, because it's very clear that she's in love with him. It's pretty clear that he knows that. He knows who she is, because I think by this point he's seen her sleeping. And when she goes to sleep, she turns into young Sophie again. And so like, we'll get to it, but later on, his former mentor in one breath will absolutely play along with the fact that she's his mother. And then in the next breath, we'll be like, and also you're in love with him. Is it incest times? I don't know. And like, everybody's cool with it. It's incredible.
I think that these people that are really, really good at magic can recognize strong enchantments. And I like to think that he recognized her as the girl from the alleyway. Immediately. I feel like he always treated her in a way that felt like he was seeing through that outer facade that was cast on her.
And he says, you're beautiful. He says that to her in her or in her crone form, you're beautiful. And I love that it's not quite clear. Does he mean her inside? Does he mean her appearance as it is? Does he mean how he sees her through the enchantment? It could mean so many things to so many. It's up to the individual audience member, but I love that he sees her beauty.
Yeah,
no matter what.
And you probably have noticed by now that Sophie's appearance change is almost completely different in every shot of her. She ranges from incredibly old to basically herself, just with gray hair, as young Sophie. And the stronger that she feels and the more passionate she is about something, the more she stands up for herself, the more she is her true self, the curse melts away. And so I guess when she's asleep, she's sort of at peace. And yeah, he does look in on her when she's asleep, and she's looking all cute with her little head on the pillow, and he doesn't look remotely surprised, which leads me to feel that he has always known who she was.
Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely. And when he said you're beautiful to her, I definitely interpreted it as like a holistic sense, because he has seen her at every stage of outer appearance, whether it's like 99 or young Sophie with gray hair.
Oh, hey, HBs. I don't know if you've heard, but we have a Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you get over 150 bonus episodes, most of which include Aaron, videos of regular episodes, author hangouts, and so much more. Do you want to hear Aaron and I recap every single episode of Crash Landing on You? What about a little film called Psycho Stripper? Do you want more recaps of ridiculous Thanksgiving and other holiday books and movies? And how do you feel about Naima Simone and I recapping amazing reality TV? All of that and more is on the Patreon. There's so much content at your fingertips as soon as you sign up. Seriously, hours and hours. Anyway, it's patreon.com/Heaving Bosoms Podcast if you want to check it out. And of course, that link is in the show notes. Keep being a badass.
So she has to go to the palace. And when she gets to I'm so sorry. It's time for her to go to the palace, and she puts on her hat, and he says, "Why are you wearing that hat? I spent so much magic making your dress pretty. You're ruining it." And then she's going to leave, and he stops her, and he does that murmur in her ear again. Everyone.
Yeah, he's good at that. Yeah.
And he puts his ring on her finger, and he says, "It's a charm to get you back here safely." And her stomach flips 4 times. You don't get to see it, but you know it happens.
Because it happened to us too.
Honestly.
Watching it. So
yeah.
I mean, who doesn't love an unexpected gift? It reminds me of that bit in The Bodyguard where Frank puts the necklace onto Rachel, and she says, "It's beautiful." And then he shows her that it's like a panic alarm in the crucifix. I love it. I love an unexpected jewelry gift that is also practical.
That's also safety.
It's lovely. And he says to her, "Don't worry, I'll be following along in disguise to make sure that you're okay." So that's also nice. He's proved before that, he's a guy that will stand up for people that are being hassled, like when in their first meeting. So we feel safe. We know that he's there. She's just got to work out who he is as she's walking in. So she's looking around. Who could Howl be disguised as? And then she notices this weird little dog following her.
The greatest character in animation history. I would die for this dog. Die for this asthmatic dog.
Yes. This wheezing little dog. He has no lines. He can't speak, but he just does a wheezing cough. And she decides, well, that must be Howl. So she talks to this dog as if he's Howl for the walk-in. And then she's overtaken by, who is it? It's the Witch of the Waste, being carried by her henchmen in one of those, what are they called? Reticules?
It's not palanquin, but it's
I call them carry boxes.
Like the human little transport thing.
She's in a
People
carrying
are my
box.
horses.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes. And it's really a very satisfying scene when the witch must get out. No magic further than this point. And they both have to walk up this insanely huge pyramid of stairs.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. This palace needs to work on accessibility.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No one assists. There's like
There's a rule
1,200
against it.
guards. There's 1,200 men standing silently watching these two ladies try to climb up the stairs. And the witch, as all of her magic melts away, she is now revealed in her true form, a very elderly woman herself, who has significant mobility issues. And they both basically start to have this weird old lady race up the stairs.
Yeah.
But Sophie's doing
it's
it
painful.
carrying the dog in the most heroic act. She picks up this dog and, she's a 90-year-old woman. She doesn't need the extra. That dog looks like it's about 4 pounds, but still, and just heaves that dog up the stairs with her. And yes, the old woman races. Choice.
Yeah.
And I sort of love that they're heckling each other on the way up, but still have that like camaraderie and that sense of obligation to be like, you go, girl, you can do it. Like, come on, get your old ass up here. It's very, very cute, these two. It's the beginning of their like hesitant friendship.
Yeah, I think it really shows Sophie's humanity that she can turn around and call for the person that put this terrible curse on her. Come on, you're nearly there. I loved it. I thought it was a great moment. And I mean, she's just the best person. She always takes the high road. And
absolutely,
they make it into the palace, and it's it's crazy and opulent. The Witch of the Waste sees a chair and pretty much says, "Mine," and then runs to it and sits down. And
the dog leads.
Dog runs off.
Yeah, the dog leads Sophie into like an antechamber that then leads to the mentor. But then the Witch of the Waste gets sparkly Child of the Corn.
She
what
does.
happens? Oh my God.
She sits there and then she's surrounded by some dancing shadows that look like small children. And I don't know if I fully understand what happens there, whether she's having a spell cast on her, preventing her from getting up to her old tricks when she's outside of the castle. That's kind of how I interpret it, because from this point on in the movie, the Witch of the Waste is now a very elderly woman. So I think that might be what happened. Is that what you think?
I got a sense that she was
like
stripped of her power.
Vacuumed her magic out. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then we go and meet Madame Solomon. Is that it?
Oh
Solomon?
my gosh, this creepy lady.
She's great.
Because she looks so kindly. She looks like every elegant grandmother.
She's a Dolores Umbridge.
Terrifying. Yeah.
And so Sophie has to basically say, "Hello, I'm Hal's mother. My boy can't attend because he's a coward." And Madame Solomon says, "I was his mentor. I was his teacher, and I've never seen anyone so powerful as him." Something like that. But I'm pretty sure she sees straight through Sophie's old lady facade, because the more that Sophie advocates for him, the younger and younger she becomes, until she has her dark hair and she's young and she has her young voice again. And it's awesome. It's an incredible moment. And yeah, it's the moment where it's revealed to us all that Sophie is indeed desperately in love with Howl.
Oh, yes. And it's also revealed that Howl was really, really powerful and talented, but then he like gave his heart to a demon. A demon captured his heart. And if he continues to act selfishly, Madame Solomon will do exactly to Howl what she has done to the Witch of the Waste. And they like wheel the Witch of the Waste in, and she's sort of a puddle of a human right now.
She's on it like a catering cart, like a cart that like you'd wheel in a really big cake on.
Yeah.
It's a big birthday cake time, and they just wheel her in. Here you go.
Yeah. And then the king shows up in a airplane helicopter outside. And he comes in and he starts saying very, very responsible things like, I'm not going to do this magic war anymore because every time I deflect a bomb from the palace, it hits a civilian house. And like, that's not good. So we're just canceling the war. And Madame Solomon's like, oh, really, King? You're so eloquent right now. And then the real king does come out and he's like, "Rah!" And he's basically like clucking. I don't know. The king was wild.
The real king can't string a sentence together and is an idiot. So we realize that Howl has decided to impersonate the king in a very bold move. Why did he bother coming anyway is my question. If he was going to go anyway and go to the meeting, why did he make his old Sophie climb up all those stairs?
Well, he did tell us why. He tells us why. And it's a big romance. It's also a big excuse, but she asked that question. She's like, what the fuck, dude? If you were just going to go, why did you make me do that? And he says, you're the only reason I had the courage to go and, do my vow that I made, report for duty. Oh,
you make me want to be a better man.
Truly.
I would have been like, could I have not done that from the bottom of the stairs?
Honestly.
But
yeah.
So all is revealed and he clutches Sophie to him as Madame Solomon says, well, take this, and then unleashes an ocean on them. It's such a cool scene where you don't know if it's actually happening or if it's kind of a spell on their perception, and but it's a cool kind of surreal sequence where they're washed into an ocean. It was beautiful. Then what happens?
Washed into an ocean disappears. Now they're in the middle of the sky. He says, don't look down. And then those sparkle children of the corn come and get around them so that they can vacuum his power out. And he's sort of taken by them a bit. And then Sophie says, no, Howl, in her Emily Mortimer voice. She says, no, Howl, it's a trap. Oh, also, the Witch of the Waste is just like hanging on to her skirts, hoping to not fall to her doom. Anyway, she's got grip strength that like I don't
the dog
have.
Is there too. Don't forget about the dog. We're just gonna add to our little found family. It's
the found family.
Everybody.
So Howl flies up into the air as soon as she says it's a trap, because in real life, Madame Mortimer is chucking a spear at him, and it goes through her hat instead of through his not heart, and they escape on that plane helicopter.
And it's a cool scene. Like the whole thing, you're like, what? This is nuts. And you're right. If you paused it at any point and someone walked in, you'd be like, just
chaos.
They're doing it.
Just chaos.
Just sit down, have a seat, get the popcorn.
I think one of my favorite things about Howl and why I love him is in the scene where they're flying that strange helicopter. He genuinely believes that Sophie is really excellent at everything, and she's swerving around trying to control it and goes through a bell tower, and he says something like, whoa, you're good. Like I think it's
basically
like, I
nice
love
maneuver.
He thinks that she's just like so great at everything, and I love that. I think that's such an attractive quality for me. And so admiring of her all of the time.
And it's exactly what she needs, because she thinks that all she can do is like clean and be mousy, and she's not worth anything else. And so having that sort of projected on her is so powerful.
And it's not like she's done this before either. She's just like, you think I'm doing well at this? Great, because this is new for her. So
she's realizing, and the audience realizes, she is really good at everything. She's good at everything that she tries. And the book really layers that a lot more as well, where you gradually realize that Sophie has powers of her own that she doesn't know about, but are recognized by other people, that she has her own magical powers. I love this.
The movie definitely refers to her as a witch a couple of times.
Yeah.
Which I love that other people might recognize it in a way that she doesn't, for her to discover and for her to explore. And there's, again, jumping ahead, but the thought of what a sequel would look like, or what the future for them looks like, what she finds out about herself and what they discover together. It's so rewarding to picture what she is like in the future.
Yeah, well, the second book is Castle in the Air. So you do get glimpses of their life after this. It's like a trilogy, I think, is it? And the third one is House of Many Ways. Yeah, so I know 3 books to get into this whole weird world.
That's really
But in
cool.
the book, Sophie, she is often tasked with mending Howl's suits. He's a fashion horse in the book.
God.
He's constantly needing a new suit for this or that, and they're always peacock blue. And Sophie, as she mends them, she talks to the suits in the same way that she talked to the hats that she was making. And she's actually putting a spell into these suits. She finds Howl so irresistible that the spells that she's putting and sewing into his suits makes him irresistible to others. It's so well done.
Oh my gosh.
And that's why she was so great at making hats, because she was putting spells into the hats that she was making. So I love that idea of being magical and not even knowing it. Like there's the people that have learned it, the way that all of these wizards have learned with a mentor. Markle's learning it, but there's also that natural kind of magic that you can put into things if you want them badly enough. She gets them. So
yeah. Almost like folk
Sally,
magic.
Have you read the Tiffany Aching books by Terry Pratchett?
No, I haven't.
It's more of almost a young adult series, a little younger than his Discworld series, but it's very similar to that. She's a witch, but she's just a very naturalistic witch, and her magic is very subtle and very practical. And a lot of times it is just listening and being a neighbor and being in a community, but it's still magic. And it reminds me a lot of this. I wonder if that's, I mean, not that you need book recommendations. I know we all have TBRs, this tall, but that's the same kind of really lovely found homespun folk magic that I adore in that series. And I really liked in this too, that Sophie just has this innate way of doing things that other people see and respond to, and community building, and everybody's better at the end because of it.
Yeah.
I love that. I think I'll definitely check that out. I think I've seen this movie described as like partly like a fairy tale and partly like group therapy kind of thing. The fact that they all have to work together as a found family to get over all of their issues, and they give each other therapy. I mean, that bit where Hal was lying in bed and Sophie's sitting next to him, they look like a therapist and a patient, like I think it's no coincidence there.
And every time he treats her as utterly competent and completely impressive, he's basically like giving her affirmations that she won't give herself.
Yeah, exactly. And if it's by someone that you admire and is powerful, it definly does the trick. And he's gorgeous, of course, so that helps.
I want to hug all of them.
Me too. So where do they go once they fly into the castle? He hasn't told Sophie how to land this contraption, so they end up virtually wrecking the castle when they land, and it's pretty trashed. So they decide they need to move. I think moving is going to have to happen. So Hal gets out a piece of chalk and he draws a little vaguely satanic looking symbol on the ground. And lines the castle up on it, and they all really gas up Calcifer and tell him he's incredible, and he gets a little set of pecs and he becomes really muscular for a moment, and he tries really hard, and then he moves the castle to a new location, which is Sophie's hat shop. So they go back into town, right where we began.
But he's made some improvements. There's a new bathroom because there's more people, and he makes her a room that is just like the room that she would make hats in. And you can tell that he's like very proud of himself, and he thinks that he's done something very, very thoughtful. And he has, because he's like, this is a room that you'll feel comfortable in. And then she's a little bit young, and then you watch her get old, and she says, "Oh, this is the perfect room for a cleaning lady." And then he's like, "Okay, come here. I've got to show you this present I got for you." He's put a 5th portal on the door, everybody. And he takes her to the most beautiful rolling flower meadow extravaganza, gorgeous place with this like little cottage that has a water wheel on the side of it. You know, one of those. Oh,
yeah.
he
It looks
says
like a beautiful jigsaw puzzle.
yeah. Yeah, actually. That's a really good way of putting it.
It's his fortress of solitude. I love it. He shares it with her.
Is. Oh my God. Yeah. He says that his dad, his mentor, somebody would allow him, uncle. That sounds
tutor?
right. Sure.
Someone.
Would allow him to go up
older
there.
male authority figure.
Absolutely. And he would go there to like be alone and practice his magic and, you know, just really find peace. And he says, and I want to share that with you.
No. Is Hal growing up? Is he starting to realize it feels really good to do things for people that you care about?
I think
he is. I think he's starting to grow up, and it's.
Can I say the most amazing self-restraint in this movie is Howl says to Sophie, "I also bought you clothes," and in her new room are these beautifully wrapped packages that we never see her open.
Never see.
How long would it take you to dive for those and rip them open? It would be 2 seconds for me, but so. Sophie's just, you know, she wants to see to her family and see to Howl, and he whisks her away, and we never see her open them, which
we didn't get like an old lady makeover. That's a shame.
It should
he would have made her something beautiful.
Oh yes, it should have been sent to some kind of 80s pop song. She should have been trying on clothes. Like, we deserve that. We deserve that makeover montage.
Truly, yeah.
Yeah. So is there anything more romantic than having a man take you to somewhere that was important to him in his childhood? There's something about that you understand what it is. It's him showing her something that he's probably never shown anyone else. And in the book, he creates that portal because he says, maybe you could open a florist shop and you could go through and get all of the flowers. And the description in the book is, I personally really love descriptions of flowers and gardens. And so for me, it's just like a really gorgeous scene that I remember from the book as well. So they have a moment, and she looks beautiful and young. She's got that beautiful gray hair, but she's young again. And
she's starting to put some pieces together though. And she says, wait, I'm getting a really funny feeling about this. It feels like you're setting us up to be okay if you're gone.
Without you.
Yeah. Are you leaving? Please tell me what's going on. And he sort of like dodges it a bit. And she's like, Howl, I know that I can be of help to you, even though I'm plain and all I can do is clean. And that's when he looks at her and he says, Sophie, you're beautiful. You're beautiful. And
Christian Bale's speaking directly to every single one of us.
Oh, yes.
Yes, he is.
Yes. It's actually my new ringtone. It's my alarm. Yeah.
That's my girl, is my text message alert.
Oh no, nobody needs me in that mood all the time. So, but then they get interrupted because there's a big attack. All of a sudden there's warships with bombs all over,
like a weird Zeppelin type thing is chugging away.
It's a centipede Zeppelin.
Oh,
it's incredible.
God.
It's
every flying machine
animation.
in this movie is gorgeous and fascinating. And any Avengers, any Transformers movie, anything that has alien invading airships, nothing comes close to touching the aircraft in this movie.
I agree. Yep,
absolutely.
So Hal looks up at it and thinks, I'm going to mess with it. He's probably feeling quite good about himself. He's made Sophie happy. He wants to show off a little. And so, yeah, he sabotages that warship. And
first he chucks her through the portal.
He does.
I feel like we should tell listener about that. He like flies her over, and then he just literally drops her back through the door. And she's so funny because she's like, I'm too old to be treated like this. And it's very cute.
Well, she does kind of land on a step, to be fair.
I mean, for sure.
Bad on the spine.
Yeah.
But yeah, he ravens out and he starts like getting those ships to fall down or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he
Great.
just goes to sabotage it, trying to do his own part for the war effort without being a joiner in the official army, I guess. It's what he's been doing all along. But yeah, so then what happens?
Things then she goes and
point where things start going bad.
Yeah. But first she tucks in the Witch of the Waste, and the Witch of the Waste says, "You're in love." And then they talk about how she's in love and how the Witch of the Waste is in love with, she doesn't say it, but she's still in love with Howl, and she loves all young men because of their beautiful hearts. And this is
she says strapping young men are so difficult to deal with, but their hearts I adore. And I that line jumped out at me just at the time to be like, oh, their hearts. But then by the end of it, it means so much more, right? When she says their hearts I adore. More. So what writing?
Because
what writing.
This is also when she starts creepily looking over at Calcifer and being like, "What a good fire. Oh, my precious fire." And nobody knows why she's so obsessed with Calcifer.
Yeah. And Sophie is kind to her and tucks her in when she should throw her out on the street. She it puts her in a cute little bed, and I think it's lovely.
It is. So yeah, things start going bad. Madame Solomon sort of knows where they are, and she's making Sophie's mom go and hide actual bugs in there. That got very literal in a way that I was not anticipating.
Yes.
And I will say, I did wonder about Sophie's family. It's kind of the situation in Big when, you know, Josh the child grows up and just pieces out on his family, and his mom is like, my son is missing, my son. I worried about Sophie's family, and then her mom shows up in this and is like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have worried about Sophie's family.
She's
maybe
trash.
They were okay.
Hate her.
Yeah, well, she married a rich guy and has been distracted, you know, and all her daughters are here and there. She probably honestly didn't even notice Sophie was gone.
Who doesn't misplace a daughter or two in the glow of a happy new marriage? Really,
it also makes things a little less complicated for Sophie to start a new life. Have you ever read a series of vampire books and all of the I'm thinking about the J.R. Ward series that Lover Awakened, you know, that brother, the Daggers Brotherhood series. All the ladies in that book, they're all they all basically have no family or strong ties.
Everybody's an orphan. Everybody's so they can
I don't have to explain my vampire boyfriend to anybody. This is great.
Yeah, you can just disappear from your life. So we feel that it will be okay if Sophie has to do that.
I mean, honestly, in the Black Dagger Brotherhood, one of them literally becomes a ghost. So whatever happens to Sophie isn't nearly as bad as ghostification.
Well, and Markle's so cute because he overhears the mom quasi invite her to come live with the new husband. And he stands there and he's like, "Sophie, don't leave. I love you. I love you, Sophie. Don't leave." And she promises to stay.
And he's become a little kid for the first time. He's back to his proper age now.
Yeah.
He's one of the first to return to their proper form and their proper age. And
that's a great point. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, he's allowed to be a little kid again, which is lovely.
We don't see him dress up in his old man form after that, do we?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
That's nice.
He can be a kid again instead of being an unpaid servant for a wizard, an adult wizard man.
Yeah. Okay, so now things are going bad because Madame Solomon knows where they are for definite. And the Witch of the Waste, I don't know why she's really smoking that cigar so hard, but boy, does she love a cigar. I thought it was going to come back, or maybe I missed it. I don't know. And so there are bombs coming now. And the blob men with their little top hats are coming, and the bat boys with their shark teeth and also their little straw top hats are coming. And Howl comes and he manages to get his raven body onto a bomb so that he can divert it away from Sophie. There's still a big explosion. And Sophie's like, "Howl, you came." And he's like, "I'm so sorry it took me so long." Let's get you inside where you can be safe. Oh,
Yeah, I love that. Yeah,
And-
I just casually take a bomb for you, girl.
yeah. He says he came to protect her. And then she's like, we don't have to do this anymore. Like, let's just run away. And he says, no, I'm not that guy anymore. I found something I want to protect, and it's you, Sophie.
Swoon.
It's fine.
Insert swooning here.
Yeah. Although his plan is bad. His plan is that they need to sit in the house that's being bombed while he just like flies around outside, sort of moving bombs to other houses. I don't really know what his plan is, because he also says that he's going to guard the front door, and he super doesn't, because the blob men and the bat boys are definitely getting in. So Sophie's like, don't worry. I am Sophie. Hear me roar. I have a plan. She changes that portal door thing, and they get out. And she's like, okay, I got to go get Calcifer. And Calcifer's like, no. If I leave the castle will disintegrate. I'm certain of it. So you can't do that.
He is a fire that is very afraid of change.
Yes.
He's afraid, if I change, will I die? Will I continue to exist?
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, relatable content. Don't take me out of my house. I don't want to go out there. The outside world is scary, like the outside world has always been scary. And I think that's why he and Sophie get along so well, because she's always been tucked up in her little room. They're both like little fires in their fireplaces, aren't they?
Although I will say, he does have a legitimate fear of literal rain.
It's actively raining.
Sophie doesn't. Yeah.
It's raining. But he'll be fine.
So the castle does disintegrate right behind them. And they're like, oh no, what do we do? And she's like, don't worry. We're going to go into, like, we're just going to burrow our way back in and redo the fire. And then her whole plan is that Calcifer is going to get big and strong and carry some of the castle down to the town, so they can be like, Howl, over here. We're not in that house anymore. You don't have to protect it. However, you're doing that up in the air with the bat boys and the bombs. And so Calcifer's like, I can't do it alone. I need something from you. And she's like what? And he's like, I don't know, your eyeballs. Can you pluck them out right now? Or maybe your heart? And she's like, hard pass. I will give you my braid though. So this little fireman does chomp down her braid, nom, 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 nom. And then he grows into like a big giant smelter bodybuilder man. And he starts carrying just part of the castle. And he's got 2 chicken legs instead of 4 now. And they're on their way, right?
Yep. They're on their way. She had to make a little personal sacrifice to carry on to, and whilst we don't think her hair was like really terribly important to her, she just kept it braided over her back. It's still, we have to see something from her too, that she's willing to part with something literally a part of her.
And now she's got a sexy lob.
She does.
I mean, it's a good look on her, and I'm glad her negotiation skills were such that she didn't lose an eye. That was good. It's good.
Truly, good on you, Sophie. So the Witch of the Waste is still there, and she looks over at the fire, and she's like, "I figured out why I love the fire so much. Oh my God, I see Howl's heart." And Sophie's very focused on getting the castle down to the place. So she doesn't see the witch go over and like grab this flaming heart out of Calcifer's fire. And so things start going awry, and this tiny castle does start disintegrating a lot. And then the witch catches on fire, actual fire. And so Sophie freaks out, and she's like, I have to save this witch who's mean and has actively hurt me and is doing something bad right now. So she douses the fire with water, but oh no, if Calcifer dies, Howl dies too. And then because of that douse, the thing splits completely apart. She and the dog go down into this giant ravine, and then the rest of the little houseboy on the chicken legs goes up a hill more, and now they're separated. And is she dead? I don't know.
I mean,
everybody thinks she's dead.
Anyone listening to this who hasn't watched the movie would be like, what did Melody just say? What is happening? They're
Melody
sliding
said
down
chicken legs more than I'm comfortable with.
It's a raft on legs, isn't it? And then Sophie travels. No, what happens then? She finds a door.
She goes back in time, right?
And her ring is like, oh, Hal's still alive, and like go into the door, go into the black
doorway
place that nobody gets to go to except for Howl. You'll be totally safe because you're his fated mate. And so she and the dog, this amazing dog, go into the doom, right? They basically take that Indiana Jones step into the darkness. Anyway, so she gets there and she realizes that she's in his childhood, in that flower meadow with that cottage that has the wheelie on the side.
The water wheel.
That's the one. Yeah.
And she sees young Howl in the distance. There are falling stars landing in water, and she sees young Howl catch a falling star, and she sees him talking to this star who we now know is Calcifer. You can't hear what they're saying, but they're making an agreement, and Howl gives him his heart as a child would, very carelessly, not seeing the significance of it.
Wait, I have to ask you if what I think I saw is what I actually saw. Because what I saw was him having a convo with this little sparkle star, and then eating the sparkle star, and then having his heart come out with Calcifer. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Okay. All right. Excellent.
It is confusing. Like it's almost more like an art sequence rather than a sequence that makes sense. But you get the feeling that she's just witnessed Howl's original agreement with Calcifer, and she begins to fall into a vortex, and she screams, "Howl, find me in the future.
I know how to help you."
And then we know he found her in that alleyway at the beginning of the movie.
I hadn't even connected that.
No, that's why he says, "I've been looking for you."
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Give me a book, give me a movie, give me a TV show that says "Find Me in the Future."
Oh my God, what a fucking
somewhere
romance.
in time, starting with "Come Back to Me."
Oh my God.
Yeah, give me that. Give me that every time.
Oh,
it's good.
Put it into my veins. Oh my God.
Your eyes are like dilated black.
Honestly.
She's all pupil right now.
I am. I've had a whole metamorphosis over here. So she comes out of that door, and Howl is completely Raven now. Like he's monster, and he like can't make words even. And she comes out and she's like, "Oh no, am I too late?" And he just sort of looks at her, and then she kisses him, and he has no response because he is monster now. And then she says, "I know how to help you. Take me to Calcifer." So he puts down the one leg he has. Does he only have one leg right now? Or did I just miss the other one?
Maybe it's just tucked up under him the way that birds do.
Maybe he did a nice little tuck.
I
that's
think
fine.
that he needed the one down for her to ride on. It would be both be tucked up, but she needs transport, and so she's on his big talon.
Fair enough.
It's so hard. I mean, it would be terrifying. She's so brave.
Yeah, because she's also holding a dog while also trying to hold on to this foot.
I don't know how he held on, but I'm glad he did.
Yeah, same. Same here. I'm just glad his cold didn't get worse in that wind.
It's true.
So they land on this now just raft with two chicken legs that's carrying Markle and the Witch of the Waste, who's doing a big Smeagol and holding Howl's heart. And they land, and then the wind takes away his black feathers, and, you know, his monstrous form. And suddenly there's just big, beautiful man laying there.
Yeah.
And then she goes over to the witch and she's like, I need to have the heart. And the witch is like, no, 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 it's mine. I finally have it. I've been wanting it for years. And then instead of like kicking her in the face or like threatening to push her off the raft like I would, she hugs her. Oh. And the witch says, you really need it that badly? She says, yeah, I really do. And so she gives her the heart. Oh.
And the implication is that like no one could quite look after this heart the way that Sophie could. It's beautiful. It's very compassionate and it's very understated. And I know a criticism of this movie is that it all kind of ends quite fast, but you know, it's in the simplicity that if you've been picking up on the clues all along and these character arcs, the ending is very satisfying because she presses it into his chest and gives him a kiss, and he manages to survive. He gets his heart back. This heartless young man that's been roaming the hillsides and seducing young women in his heartless way is heartless no longer. So it's we love to fix a man literally by putting his actual heart back into his chest.
Absolutely. And
in
she
this
also
case, we
is
can
worried
fix him.
Yes. And she's also worried about Calcifer. She's like, are you going to be okay if I put his heart back in his body? And Calcifer's like, I mean, I've survived so far. I feel like I will. And then he gets to be a sparkle star again, everyone. Oh, it's beautiful. Then we find out about the scarecrow because everything goes to shit. All the magic is gone for some reason that I can't remember. They're falling down a hill, and the scarecrow decides that he's going to put his post into the ground to stop the raft from going over the mountain. And of course, that grinds the post down and then it breaks it in half and stuff. And Sophie's like, oh my gosh, we'll get you a new post. And then she kisses that scarecrow because he saved her life, that turnip head she doesn't even like. And then he turns into the missing prince that apparently is the origination of the war that's happening right now. So Sophie has also ended the war. The prince is going to go home and be like, Dad, stop being a fool.
We need to talk about this, though.
Okay.
Because what does it is true love's kiss, because he loves her. And he's like, oh, but you're with Howl, so I'm going to peace out to my kingdom. I'll get over you. Wait, what?
No, he doesn't say that. He says, I'll be back because hearts change.
Yeah.
He's
cool. Like, don't worry, girl. You'll get sick of him and I'll be there to swoop in.
Oh, no, I read that as I will get over you. My heart will change is what I read that as. That's really interesting. Oh. I read that as you love him, so I will take myself away and I will.
I think my interpretation was, I think that he's saying, no, she's definitely my soulmate. She's going to be my princess. I'll come back and try again, but we know it won't make any difference because she's chosen Howl, and it's just too good.
And she's got silver starlight hair now, and Howl is really into the silver starlight hair.
Yeah. And then, I think Christian Bale, just the way he says beautiful, like it should be illegal.
Agreed. Except say it all the time forever also. And I don't know how those two things can exist at the same time, but like that's the world I live in right now.
Yeah.
And so then they all go flying off as a big happy family on their now air castle it's got like a yard even. And Marco
gets a courtyard. Well, they have a dog now. They need that. So
they've adopted the witch at the waist. You know, she's sitting out there, so we know that she's going to be okay. And
they have a dog, and they have an 8-year-old boy who gets to be an 8-year-old boy. So they have to have a yard.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's just everybody has a new home, and we see finally a beautiful kiss up on the balcony where she's wearing a lovely hat, which she sort of very cutely shields the kiss from the viewer, and they all fly off happily ever after. And it is the most perfect film of all time. It has everything. It has magic. It has, it has so much understanding in it, and they've all healed. They all got together and healed each other, and I love it.
And the world.
The end.
Love healed the world too.
Yeah.
Oh,
So the war's over. We're all okay. We've been through a lot. We've seen hearts being eaten and taken out, and we've seen weird cigar smoke rooms, and
we've seen so many hats.
Yep.
So many hats.
So many.
Yeah.
And I just love it.
I will say I wandered into the cult, which is the Heaving Bosoms fan page on Facebook a couple hours ago, and said, hey, who's seen Howl's Moving Castle? What do you think? Give me your opinions. And everybody loves it. Just an overwhelming, just an outpouring. People who cosplayed as Sophie. I've seen pictures of people who, so listener, if you're listening, I saw your cosplays. They're gorgeous. Holding little flames as part of their cosplay. People who talked at length about the themes and the first time they watched it. People love this movie all over the place. And I will say the Heaving Bosoms fandom would like a little more sex. They would like a version with open door. I'm just putting that out there to the world. But
That's
also, Mel, did you know that one of the St. Vincents last year was Howl? Howl was one of the St. Vincents. Yes.
Really?
That's who that was.
Yes.
Awesome.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I knew.
So there's actually, there's a lot of affection for this in the listenership already. So listener, I hope you've enjoyed this.
I mean, his heart literally keeps her warm. What's better than a hot brick, a flaming heart? Oh my God, he's totally St. Vincent.
No,
Oh my God.
I'm just watching a woman's mind be blown right now.
Can you even see my eyeballs anymore? Like,
no,
forget
it's
pupils.
Just all.
No.
Yeah, it's just all.
Your glasses are shattered. Yeah, I feel like we all need to just have a warm shower and go to bed now. Like,
yes.
Don't you
but
feel
I hope
that way?
Everybody's bedrooms are maximalist. I hope we're all going to bed with tapestries and hangings and.
I mean, I've never felt better about my rainbow wall, Sarah. After seeing that Lisa Frank bedroom, I'm obsessed with it.
Imagine if you went home with him after he played his guitar to you.
Don't.
And he opened that door.
Me with a good time, Sally.
He opened that door and he like looks over his shoulder, kind of shy, and it's like, it's a little messy. And then you go and he's got like jewels hanging from the ceiling, and
and maybe you're thinking about pulling the cord, but then he says, that's my girl, and you're back.
I would never leave. I would never leave. There would be no question in my mind. I would be like, I don't have to move anything. I'm just here now. I'm going to be your personal gargoyle.
Castle? Fine. I will clean your castle.
Yeah. Unpaid.
Whatever you need, frankly. Swoon. Okay. So my lady love is Howl's Moving Castle fan art on Instagram. There is some good-ish on Instagrams. So check that out.
Okay. My lady love is springtime in Australia. And the fact that I planted over 120 bulbs in my garden and they're all starting to come up. And very soon I'm going to have this maximalist Howl's Moving Castle garden filled with 120 flowers of tulips and daffodils and gladioli and
I'm so excited for you.
I'm creating my own Howl's flower garden for myself. So I just need a water wheel for the side of my house.
Oh my gosh.
Where can we see that on your social medias when the time is right?
When everything is just at peak springtime, I'll just dazzle you all with photos of my garden.
I'm so excited. Yeah, my plan next year is to tackle the front. I'm gonna English garden the fuck out of my front yard. Anyway.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
I just want my grass to stay alive. My lady love, because I'm always the TV bitch, is this newest season of What We Do in the Shadows, which is giving us a confident, sexy Guillermo, and I can't handle it. I can't handle it. He's got confidence. He's got swagger. He smiles at the camera sometimes, and I just have to sit quietly and think for a little bit.
I
his
mean, maybe all of
evolution over the seasons.
his money embezzling. He's embezzled just, he's bought himself a few new fits and he looks fantastic.
Ooh.
He's turned into the Godfather. He's turned into Tony Soprano. He's taking care of his people. He's bribing cameramen. Oh, he's doing it. He's doing
Yeah.
it. So yeah, this season is
Gosh.
fantastic.
Agree.
Yay.
FX on Hulu. What We Do in the Shadows. Start with season 1. It's a fast watch. You'll love it. Start with the
Mhm.
movie. I'm just giving you homework left and right, listener.
Oh, I love it. All right, Sally, where can they find you on the internets?
Well, they shouldn't find me on the internet at all because that's just wasting time when I should be writing another book. But
Fair.
I guess if you type in Sally Thorne author wherever you are, except TikTok, you'll probably stumble upon me. And I hope everybody can read Howl's Moving Castle. It is an absolute masterpiece by Diana
Mhm.
Wynne Jones. And it's incredible.
Yeah.
And maybe read Angelica Frankenstein Makes Her Match on
it's out
September
September 6th. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can
I think it's going to do a
pre-order it right
thing. I
now.
hope it's going to be just like something so different and what everyone's waiting for. Either
Hell
that
yeah.
or it's going to go terribly and we'll never speak of it again. But
Nope.
No, it's the perfect spooky season romance.
It
People
is.
are gonna eat it up. Spooky season love. It's atmospheric and swoony and
Completely.
so sharp and funny and unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
thanks, guys. That's so nice.
I guess that's
Yeah.
Lady Love Part 2.
I mean, sure. Yeah, absolutely. I thought that was a given. All right. So thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. Sarah, thank you for joining me.
Oh my
Yay.
gosh, thank you. Sally, I just love you so much. Okay, I'm back to being cool again. We're cool. We're chill.
I know.
It's cool.
I
It's
know.
fine.
We're
It's fine.
just keeping it so cool over here. Oh my God.
we're all just Howl buddies now. We're all just Howl
Yep.
fangirls. It's
Mhm.
we're all in this together. Thank you for having me. And always a pleasure. I can't wait to do it again someday.
Yeah. So I think we need to keep being a badass and love ourselves as much as we love.
Howl in a towel.
Howl in a towel. Nailed it.
Oh, nailed it. Incredible.
Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.